Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian, I'm Ian the Reader, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about all the series that I don't plan on finishing. So, I have come to the point in my reading life where I have realized that there's just too many books out there. There are too many series that I am dying to read, there's too many books that I really want to pick up, and I understand now that I cannot waste time on series that I don't care about. And so, I have come up with a list of series that I have read 1 to 2 books in that I no longer have a desire to pick up. Now for most of these, I wouldn't say I would never pick them up, but I don't plan on it. That's what I mean. Now if somebody whose opinions I really respect just really tells me, Ian, you've got to pick this series up again because the latest book was so good or something like that, then maybe I'll give them a go again, but I just don't plan on picking these books up anymore. And there's like 1 or 2 series that I absolutely don't want to, under any circumstances, pick up, but for the most part, these are just ones that no longer interest me, and that's totally fine, you know? Reading is totally subjective, and you can read whatever you want or not read whatever you want, so don't judge me. I think I do have a few series on here that would be considered like unpopular opinions, and like with some of these, I am open to maybe one day picking them up again, but if I did, I would have to start over and reread what I've already read just because I need a new experience with them. But for the most part, these are series that I no longer have interest in. So let's go ahead and jump into the first one. The first series that I'm going to talk about is one series that I have absolutely no intention of ever, under any circumstances, picking up again. And honestly, I wouldn't have read it in the first place, but I did it for my vampire reading vlog, and so I decided to give it a go, and it was awful. And that series is Crave by Tracy Wolff. If you like this series, good for you, but it was awful. It was not for me. Like, so bad. Yeah, I regret reading this. The next one is one that I'm kind of open to maybe trying again one day, but I would have to read the first book again. I wasn't crazy about this book, but I do love a lot of books by this author, and the series I'm talking about is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have read and loved Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue I really enjoyed as well, and I really thought I was going to enjoy A Darker Shade of Magic, and it wasn't bad. It just wasn't, like, great. I really love the premise, but it just didn't really live up to what my expectations were. And this is, again, one of those that I would be willing to try again, maybe, but there's just so many other things that I want to read that I don't see myself doing it. But it's not impossible. Maybe one day I'll start over and just reread the first book and continue on. It's only a trilogy, so it's not like it would take me that long. But right now, I just don't have any interest in it. Next up is another YA series, and that is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. I had heard really good things about this series, and so back in, I think, 2019, I picked up the first book, and it was okay. Like, it wasn't bad. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then randomly, at the beginning of this year, I felt like picking up like a YA fantasy, but I didn't necessarily want to try something new, and so I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and pick up the second book, A Torch Against the Night, and it was a letdown. I didn't enjoy it. There were some things about it I enjoyed, but overall, I just thought it was kind of boring and predictable, and I really didn't like one of the perspectives. Like, it's told from 2 or 3 perspectives, and one of the main ones was just like a drag for me. And so this is one that I really don't think I'm going to continue, just because the first 2 books have been so meh for me that I don't want to force myself to read the last 2 books. So, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. Next up is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and you'll notice there's a lot of YA books on here just because my tastes have changed a lot, and I used to love YA books, but now I'm really definitely more into like adult fantasy and just like more mature books in general. This was not bad. I read it as part of a book club group read earlier this year, and it was pretty good, but again, it was just predictable, and I liked the magic system, but I didn't think it was like fleshed out enough, and I didn't really like the characters very much either, so it's like with a lot of these, I don't hate them. It's just like middle of the road, and I would so much rather spend my time on books that I'm gonna love, you know? So, yeah, not for me. Next up is maybe a hot take, I don't know. It's A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, I don't remember. Yeah, so with this author, I have kind of like an up and down history. I used to love the Throne of Glass series by her, and then I kind of had a falling out with that series near the end of the series, and A Court of Thorns and Roses I read because a lot of people who I know were reading it and loving it, and it was okay. Like, it wasn't anything great. Yeah, I read the first 3 books, but now she's continuing on the series, and I just don't care that much, so I really don't see myself reading the rest of these. Yeah, sorry. Next up is a fantasy series that I have no issue with whatsoever. It's just that I don't really remember my time with the first book and I don't want to reread it. And that is The Black Prism. I think it's called like the Lightbringer series by Brent. I enjoyed this book when I read it last year in 2020. But I don't remember it that well. And while I liked the magic system a lot, I don't remember the first book well enough to feel like I can comfortably get into book 2. And I think that was partially just because the book wasn't very memorable to me. And so I may pick this one up again in the future because I've heard a lot of good things about it. But right now, I don't plan on it. We'll see though. I like the premise, so I might give this one another go. Next up is one that a lot of people love, but I don't, and that is The Name of the Wind, or The Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. I read the first book of these back in 2020, and my expectations were like super high, and it was just a letdown. I really didn't like Kavoth, I really didn't like the pacing, or really the story in general. It just didn't go anywhere for me. And so personally, I don't have any interest in reading The Wise Man's Fear, especially because there's no news of book 3, The Doors of Stone, on the horizon. If they announce book 3 like legitimately, I may give this another go and just lower my expectations. But I was just so disappointed in book 1 that I have a hard time even convincing myself to try to pick up book 2. Next is yet another young adult book series, and that is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. So I read the first book in high school and I really enjoyed it, but then for some reason I didn't pick up book 2. And then back in 2019 I was like, I really did enjoy that series, maybe I should try it again. So I read book 1 and 2, and it was okay. Like, the writing was pretty good and I liked the world, but it just didn't really grab me too much, and so I didn't pick up book 3. And honestly, if I've tried twice now and I haven't finished the series, it's not gonna happen. So not gonna finish these. Next up is the Winter Night trilogy, which starts with the book The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. So I read these books, or the first book, back in like 2019 probably, and I liked it. The writing was beautiful, it had a great sense of atmosphere, but the plot was just kind of weird and it wasn't really plot driven at all, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I just also didn't really get attached to the characters or their situations very much. And I tried to pick up the second book. I think it's called like The Girl in the Tower. I did pick it up, but I wasn't into it, and so I put it down. And yeah, it's just, there's just so many other books that I want to read. So it's not gonna happen. Oh well, I can't read everything, you guys. Next up is another one that's been really, really popular, since it came out, but also got even more popular because the TV show on Netflix just came out this year, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I've kind of discovered that Leigh Bardugo just really isn't for me anymore. When I was in high school, I read Shadow and Bone, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that whole trilogy. But then I read Six of Crows a few years ago, and it just didn't really do it for me. And I honestly, again, I don't remember it very much. And I've thought about picking it up again. I even reread Shadow and Bone, the first book, earlier this year because the TV show was coming out, and I didn't like it very much. And I actually just read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and it was okay. It definitely didn't meet my expectations, and so I think I'm just discovering that Leigh Bardugo just isn't it for me. That's just me personally. I know that she's really popular, and I think that's great if you enjoy her books, but for me, I'm not gonna read Six of Crows. All right, and we have come to the last one, and this is one that, again, is kind of a little bit of a hot take, but I'm not alone for sure. Like, I've seen people have like similar complaints with this book and with this series, and so I feel fine with it, and that is The Rage of Dragons, or the Burning series by Evan Winters. So I had really high expectations for this book when I went into it, when I read it in 2020, and I didn't like it a lot. Like, I liked some things about it. I liked the characters, I liked the world building, but the way that it was written was kind of obnoxious to me, in that I felt like there was literally like 200 pages in the middle of like just training, like over and over and over and over again. So repetitive, and it felt like something that, like, if this was a movie, it should have been like a training montage, but rather than like montaging the heck out of it, Evan Winters spent so much time just on training, and it just really turned me off to the book and the series. So this is one maybe that I will pick up the second book, because I think, I liked the direction that the series was going, and the fact that, we've gotten past kind of the training stuff, maybe it'll be just more interesting. And I've heard that the introduction for book 2, The Fires of Vengeance, kind of recaps book 1 really well, so maybe I will pick this one up again, but I just don't know, because I was really disappointed with the way that that book was executed, because I think the premise and the world were really promising, and then it was just like training forever, and it just wasn't for me. So there you have it. But that is it, guys. Those are all of the series that I have started and don't plan on finishing. If there are any of these that you like adamantly believe wholeheartedly that I would love, or you think I should give another try, please let me know in the comments, because, you know, I'm open to trying most of these again. I would say other than Crave and maybe An Ember in the Ashes, just because I feel like I've tried 2 books and it's just not gonna happen. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of these, and if you think I should try any of them. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that fun stuff. Please stick around. I post videos every Tuesdays and Fridays, and yeah, I hope you're having a good time with these videos, because I certainly am. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't be a stranger, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!